got one, or if you feel like it's just a simple yes or no, we keep it going. All right. So, number one right now, just went over it before. Pirates, right? 52 and 50. Brewers 59 and 43. The odds right now have the Brewers at minus 550 to win the division. The Pirates are plus 1300. Do you buy that the Brewers have that division locked up?
I don't buy it at all, especially in baseball. You see those gigantic winning streaks, those awful losing streaks every single year. In terms of an odds play, right? If you're going to bet one of those sides, obviously you bet the Pirates at the plus 1300. Now, I do think the Brewers win the division, but for that much of a mathematical gap, I don't think that's realistic at all, no.
I gotta say, I passed on the Paul Skeens future. I don't think I could pass on this one. The fact that that number is any higher than like plus seven, plus 800 to me is absolutely crazy, especially with the run that they're on. I wouldn't be surprised if that number changes tomorrow. Um, Bronny James missing the rest of the summer league season. Do we buy that this doesn't impact how he starts up in the regular season?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but the summer league's concluded, right? They had the championship Grizzlies versus Heat on Monday, and then they just go into regular camp after a rest period. So I don't know if there would be any more games for him to miss.
From what I saw, I believe he. Hold on.
Are you saying they shut him down early, like into the
No,
summer
yeah,
league?
yeah. Like they shut him down early. Like, so yeah, Saturday he was spectating. Like he's not participating.
So I think what it is, all the media pressure, the hype around him, everybody commenting on his game, I think they're kind of worried that was going to be a little much. It's very difficult, I imagine. I know it's weird to say. Your name is LeBron James Jr. You're playing in the NBA, and the large majority of people think you don't deserve to be there. That can be a lot on a young athlete. I think they made the right decision, just kind of letting the hype die down, the media pressure die down. Let's bring him along slowly. Let's see if he can, contribute, be a rotational player. From what I've read from unbiased sources, because there are people out there who really want him to fail and people who really want him to succeed, his offense needs work. His shooting could use some coaching, but his defense is pretty good. He utilizes his wingspan very effectively. I think there's definitely a spot for him as a 3 and D guy in the NBA. He'll just take a little bit of time. It's just will having the name LeBron James Jr. rush his development, in my opinion. That's my take there.
Um, you know what? I'm with you on it. I'm with you on it. I think that's probably the most wholesome take possible on it. To be honest with you, I'm not a believer at all, but it'll be interesting to see because people use anything as a story too if with a rough start. So it'll be interesting to see if that this is something to look back at or not, or if it's just a blip on the radar. So UFC uh, mentioned a little bit of it earlier on as far as the odds. Aspinall at a minus 440, Curtis Blades plus 310. Are you buying that Curtis Blades really doesn't have that much of a shot against Aspinall?
Not at all, especially considering we didn't really get to see this matchup play out in the first fight. Aspinall had the freak injury, Blades wins by TKO kind of on paper. It was just a weird main event. And everybody's kind of like, well, we didn't really learn anything from that particular matchup. Something that I do find very intriguing about that prospect. Tom Aspinall is the finisher. He doesn't really go beyond the first or the second round. He comes in, he knocks you out, he gets his arm raised post fight. Say that doesn't happen. Blade slows the pace down. Suddenly you're in deep water, uncharted territory. Defending a takedown in the third, the fourth, the fifth, those championship rounds is very different than defending a takedown in the first round. When you're fresh, you're invigorated, you have all the energy in the crowd behind you. If, say, for example, Blades takes like one of the first 2 rounds, right? 1-1 going into the third. If you're Aspinall, what do you do there? Do you adjust your game plan? Do you still just keep fighting for the finish, going for the knockout? If you do and you're hyper aggressive, I think Blades most definitely has an avenue to victory. Slowing it down, fighting against the fence, smothering, getting the takedown. Sure, the crowd's going to be booing, they're going to be yelling, stand him up. But if he can just put a few rounds in the bank and he's going to the fifth, like up 3-1 or tied 2-2 against a gassed Aspinall, I could definitely see a win for him, so I don't necessarily buy the odds. Now, of the 2, I talked earlier, I think one of the British guys has to lose to bust the parlays. Gun to my head, that would be Bilal beating Leon, just because Leon I find is very low volume, and Bilal, I know the meme is that he could get into like a fatal street fight and it'll still go to a decision. Bilal is very high volume, even though his volume may not be as impactful as you may want it to be, right? I know that fight against Gilbert Burns, a lot of people had a sour taste in their mouth because Gilbert didn't have like a fucking arm or a shoulder, and Bilal still couldn't finish him. He's kind of adopted the kind of Colby Covington cringe persona. I don't think that's who he is at all. I think he's just trying to play the media marketing game. I do think that would be my upset pick of the two, because if you remember against Usman, I watched that fight. I bet Leon. I thought Usman won that fight when Leon walked away with the mixed decision there in that title defense. So we'll see.
All right.
Yeah.
That was going to be the next one I was going to say. I was going to say, do you buy the Bilal Muhammad at being plus 200, or do you think he has a better shot in this one as well?
Yeah, no, well, it's weird. I buy Muhammad, but I sell the idea that he's that large of an underdog. I think just stylistically, I know people don't like how Bilal fights, but that type of fighting, you're always going to be live against pretty much any opponent. As someone who's
Mhm.
a Leon guy, I love Leon Edwards. My biggest bet of my life was on him to beat Usman. I was on the right side of a head kick heard around the world. That was one of the best nights of my life, not gonna lie. Leon can be pretty low volume. He likes to pick his spots. He likes to get in the clinch work, but I've noticed he doesn't throw a ton of knees, a ton of elbows, right? He kind of just
Mhm.
holds the position, wins it, and then plans his next move. Bilal, if you remember his fight against Sean Brady, up against the fence, yeah, he's not throwing a knockout haymakers, but he's active. He's going for the takedowns. He's getting those little, the Diaz dirty boxing pop, 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 pop in there. So I do think, especially with the new scoring criteria, the judges, at least they told them that they don't value grappling as much, but based on some of the stuff we've seen, obviously that's still a fucking crapshoot.
Yeah.
I do think there's definitely a very, very realistic path to victory here for Bilal. Gun to my head, if I had to pick one of those guys to lose, Blades has a better chance to win than advertised. I still think Aspinall wins. However, Bilal at plus 210, oh, that's yeah, that's a very intriguing bet.
So for the last one, and definitely not least, and definitely an intriguing one, the odds came out for the Tony Ferguson fight. Michael Chiesa is a minus 440 favorite. The world's most beloved fighter that's still fighting for, well, we don't know why, but I guess glory. He's at plus 310. Are you buying that this is Tony's last fight if he loses?
No, I think if he loses
Oh,
here, they're gonna.
God.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What they're gonna do, I think, since he's such a good company guy and he's taking this fight in the Middle East against, like, you said it yourself. The whole thing about this fight is just weird. He should be fighting other legends, right? He should have just fought Nick Diaz on this card. Everybody would have been happy. It would have been great. I think what should
That would
happen.
actually be pretty fire.
I know, right? It's right there.
Like, let this man cook. Hold on. He's tips
Let me cook.
glasses. This is
Let me
kind of
cook.
crazy. This is crazy. Nick Diaz and Tony Ferg. Man, that would be great, actually.
It
Damn.
would have been amazing, right? What I think if he loses here now, is Tony a plus 310 against Chiesa?
Yeah.
No? Well, oh, so sorry. I'm saying in terms of like odds
Oh,
to win.
no, no. Tony's a
Yeah,
plus
yeah.
1500 here, dude. There should be
Holy
like,
shit, really?
in my dude, what are we? I mean, 8 straight isn't like a. It's like the same thing like with Diego Sanchez on the way out. Man, you're not moving. You're not moving how you think you are. Your mind probably thinks you're responding, but like, man, one of the hardest things to watch. You want to really see like a horror movie? Go find the video on YouTube of like I believe there's no crowd. Yeah, it was during the bubble, but no crowd. The Gaethje Ferguson fight, and put some headphones on and hear the thuds and the slaps from Gaethje to Ferguson. The damage from that fight is so terrifying, and to see the trajectory of since, it's man, if he wins this, it's by a miracle shot. And I mean, everybody has a puncher's chance at the end of the day. But if we're putting odds and statistics on it, man, I've given out plus 310s and one on them. This ain't a plus 310. I mean, it's just not. It's just not, especially for a guy who's lost 8 straight. Kies is always in pretty sturdy shape. totally different guy than where Ferguson's at. There's just, I mean, Chiesa doesn't even really have to do anything. He could take his time and just do a real point fight striking, go for your takedown, shoot. Don't even really go for the ground and pound. Just slowly work for submissions, and no damage is really done. Which I wouldn't be surprised if that's the route gone. It doesn't look like he really tries to finish him at any point, but just try to win for 15 minutes without taking any big risks. Because again, Tony's still Tony. Tony is gonna throw some weird shit out there 3 or 4 times throughout the fight if it lasts longer than 1 round. He will try something weird at some point, but yeah, I don't a +1,000 at best, man.
So just to finish the thought, I think if he loses here, what they'll do is they'll give him kind of like a send-off fight, a retirement fight, so to speak. They'll book it in his backyard out in California, maybe put him as the main event of a fight night, right? He can have friends, family, everybody there from like the gym or something. They'll give him, I don't want to say an easy matchup, but they'll kind of do what they did with Robbie Lawler versus Nico Price, where they're like, all right, Robbie, we're going to give you a guy who's going to stand and trade with you. You're going to win one. It's going to be this. They'll kind of set something up like that, and maybe he rides off into the sunset. So, yeah, I don't see. I
One
know
can
the
only hope.
UFC. Yeah, one can only hope. I know the UFC is stone cold, but after he stepped in, remember he faced Nate Diaz on that card that got all scrambled up because Chimaev
Yeah,
decided to pull some shenanigans. I
yeah.
think after that, Uncle Dana, generally when you step in for him on short notice, he always rewards you kind of like at the end of your career. I don't see Dana fucking him over here.
We will see. But that's all I got for you. That's about it.
You got me feeling lucky. I'm putting everything on black.